These capacity, these speeds, we can reach to these speeds only in some areas without limitations. These speeds are dependent to the conditions that I'm installing wireless LAN in that condition. For example, if I'm installing a wireless LAN inside a building with thick walls, the communication range and the average speed range of my wireless LAN would be less than this. Or if I increase my range, if I became going far from the access point, my speed would be decreased. Okay? If I increase the output power of the antenna, my speed will be increased. If I have some interferer in my environment, my speed would be decreased. So it depends on the conditions of the environment that I'm installing wireless LAN in there. Okay. Yeah. When we talk about panels of wireless LAN, Newman says that in infrastructure mode we can connect to internet, but in ad hoc mode we cannot. No, it's not correct. Because in ad hoc mode, maybe, for example, one of those systems have a special link to the internet. For example, a wireless link to the internet. For example, I can hotspot my cell phone, and the other devices in my home can connect to my cell phone. Okay? They are connecting to my cell phone, so I'm creating an ad hoc network, but in this case, using a cellular link, my cell phone is connected to the internet. But mostly, when we talk about ad hoc network, we don't talk about a connection to internet, mostly. Okay? In wireless LAN, in frequency range of 2.4 gigahertz, in the standard of wireless LAN, the American standard of wireless LAN, we have 11 different channels. Those channels have some overlaps. Each channel has each channel has some overlaps with the previous channel and with the next channel. Okay, so we have 11 different channels with some overlaps. In frequency of 2.4. In frequency of 5 gigahertz, we have 4 different channels. Okay, but my system, my host, can only connect to one of those channels. I should select. For example, I'm connecting to my access point. Okay, my access point has a specific channel, so my laptop should works with that channel to connect to my access point. Okay, is it possible to use a same frequency channel in 2 different networks? Yes, even if they are overlapped, they are installed in the same location. Both of those networks may have similar channels, similar bandwidth, and at that time they will interfere with each other. So you can say, okay, you have two wireless networks, and your distance to the access point is very short, but you cannot send or receive data. Why? Because your access point interfere with each other. Each of those access points likes as a noise for the other access point, for its neighbor. So I should decide about the channel number of my access point. How I can do this? You can use some Wi-Fi scanner applications in your cell phone. Yes, to reduce interference. Okay. You can use some Wi-Fi analyzer tools in your cell phone to check your environment and see which channels are used in your environment, and find an empty channel. But remember that, for example, if I choose channel 1, this channel has some overlaps with channel 2. If I choose channel 6 has some overlaps with channel 5 and channel 7. Channel 8 has overlap with channel 7 and channel 9. Each of those channels has some overlaps area. So find an empty channel with at least 2 channels difference, 2 channels distance. For example, if you can see that, okay, channel 1 and channel 3 and channel 6 are used, and 7 are used in your location. Okay, choose, for example, channel 10 or 11, something like that. Never choose, for example, channel number 5 or channel number 2, because they have some overlaps with channel 1, channel 3, channel 6. Okay, just leave some channels and select the farthest channel as much as possible. You can define this channel in your access point. Go to this configuration panel of your access point, okay, and then select, okay, for example, my access point can work on channel, for example, number 9, number 10. Okay, you can configure your access point for this, and you can monitor your network, your location, using Wi-Fi analyzer tools. There are several tools for this in, for example, Google Play or App Store of Apple. Okay, but let's suppose that I'm installing a wireless LAN, and now a new host is arrived to my cell, to my BSS, and now I want to it want to join to my network. What can it do to connect to my access point? In this slide, I say that each cell, we count BSS to each of these cells. Okay, and if my network has more than one BSS, more than one BSS. For example, in this case, here in this example, we have two different BSS. Okay, we call them ESS, or extended service set. Extended service set. Okay. So now I have an arriving host which is want to join to my access point. It want to associate it with my access point. Okay. The arriving node firstly should scan the channels. I said that in 2.4 gigahertz we have 11 channels, and in 5 gigahertz we have 4 different channels, totally 15 channels. Okay, please note that we are talking the standard 802.11, not a general standard. The basic standard of Wi-Fi is IEEE 802.11. But this standard has some modifications in Europe and some modification in Japan. For example, I think in Japan you have 3 or 6 different channels, defined channels. Instead of having 11 channels, I think they have 3 different channels. But and in Europe you have a different number of channels. But here we are talking about the IEEE 802.11 standard, the basic standard of Wi-Fi. Okay. My system arrives to the network. Firstly, it should scan the whole channels, 15 channels, and listen for the beacon frames. What is a beacon frame? Beacon frame are some frames that are propagated from AP of the cell. In this frame, we have, for example, AP's name or SSID and MAC address of AP. And maybe it have some other information. For example, it has some authentication information. Okay. And also, for example, when how can I use DHCP in wireless LAN? For this, again, I should beacon frames. Yes, I should beacon frames. So my system is listening to the beacon frames. It catches the information of access point. Then it performs the authentication if it's necessary, and after that it should receive an IP address. So it would look for DHCP server of the network. It would run DHCP service to receive an IP address in that network, in the new network. Okay, but the first step was listening to the beacon frames. We have two different types of scanning in wireless LANs: passive scanning and active scanning. In active scanning, my access point works regularly, commonly, in a common manner. What does it mean? It means that my access point will propagate the beacon frames regularly. Okay? So the newly arrived host just must sit and listen to the beacon frames. and find the best access point around itself, and then try to make an association with that access point. For example, here host H1 receives the beacon frames from DSS1 and DSS2. So it just select the best receive signal and then try to join to that network. Okay, try to make an association with that network. But in passive, we have another types, passive scanning. What is passive scanning? In passive scanning, look at this one here. In active scanning, my system start to send information, send some messages to the access point. Okay, I'm here. Who is here? I want to connect to this network. Who is here? In active scanning, I'm looking. I'm writing system to the network, and I'm looking for the base stations, for the access points. Okay, but in passive scanning, I never look for my host, never look for the base stations. Why? Because I can, in the configuration, I can hide my access, my base station. If I hide my base station in the configuration of my access point, nobody can see me. So my system should sit in the network and listen to the beacon frames to find a hidden access point. To find a hidden access point. And then according to the beacon frames, my system can detect, okay, there are, for example, 2 access points around myself. And then it would choose one of those access points and try to associate it with them, sending an association request to the best access point, and that access point, for example, would be response to the request. So we have 2 different types of scanning: active scanning and passive scanning. As I mentioned in this session, we are using CSMA technology, to join to the network and sending information inside a network in layer 2. Okay, but what is CSMA? CSMA means carrier sense multiple access. What does it mean? It means that, let's suppose that I'm a wireless host in my network. Okay, in a network. If I want to send information, firstly, I should listen to the carrier, to the medium. Carrier sense, I should listen to the medium. Is it free? Yes or no? Carrier sense. I'm listening to the carrier, to the medium, to find out if it's free. Is it free? Yes or no? If it's free, I can send information over the medium. And the other host can do this, can repeat this strategy. So we have carrier sense, multiple access. Other hosts can repeat this, my strategy. So they can access to my medium. Carrier sense, multiple access. But here we are talking about wireless medium. different from a wired medium. In wired medium, as we mentioned in chapter 1, in wired medium, we are using a guided medium. So my signals are transferred over a cable, a guided medium. But in wireless, we can't. Why? Because in wireless technology, mostly in wireless technology, we use a single antenna. This antenna can be used as a sender or a receiver. We cannot use this antenna as a server and a receiver at the same time. In a single time, it should be a sender or a receiver. If I want to send while I'm receiving, I have to use two different antennas. In wireless LAN, we have only one antenna. So when I'm sending information, if someone else sends two, I cannot hear his voice, its voice, the voice of other systems in the network. So I cannot detect the collisions in wireless networks. Because I'm sending, I cannot hear while I'm sending. So I cannot detect collisions in this case. But the collision may happen in a wireless network with high probability. Then it says that is this some kind of wireless network? Yes, we are talking about Wi-Fi technology. It's a wireless LAN technology. Okay, so I cannot detect the collisions. So we say that carrier sense multiple access collision avoidance CA. What does it mean? It means that I cannot detect. In internet technology, we have CSMA CD. CD means collision detection. But in wireless LAN, I cannot detect a collision because I have a single antenna. I can send or receive. Okay. I can send or receive. So the only task that I can do is that I can avoid a collision as much as possible. So we use collision avoidance strategy here. We talked about some collision examples. In the last session, we talked about hidden node problem. In hidden node problem, the system B, the information received to system B or sent it from system B would be collided because A and C are sending their information simultaneously toward B, and B would receive the summation of those signals. So collision is a fact. I cannot remove it. So I must try to handle it, to remove it, to avoid it. How? In CSMA technology here, first we say that firstly, the sender sends the carrier. It finds that, okay, the carrier is empty. Then it said that, okay, wait for a DIFS time, or I think delay interfering space. Wait for DIFS time and then send information. If the channel is empty, I'm listening to the channel. If the channel is still empty after a DIFS interval, then I'm saying, okay, the channel is empty, so I'm sending information, my information. And after that, after sending information, we receive SIFS. We have to, in the sender, in the receiver, we have to spend a SIFS interval, and after that sending an acknowledge. Okay, I receive your sent information. This acknowledge means this: I receive your package or your luggage. So to avoid collisions, we said that, okay, before sending, wait for DIFS time. Before sending acknowledge, wait for SIFS time. Okay? Maybe someone say, okay, I'm waiting for a delay and after that I'm starting to work. Is it true? Is it okay? You must say no. Why? Maybe, suppose that maybe I want to send information, so I'm listening to the carrier for the DIFS time, interval time. Okay? After that, at the same time, excuse me, at the same time, maybe someone else repeat my work, completely separated. Okay? Completely separated. What will happen in the result? Again, we have collision. Again, we have collision. Why? Because those systems never knows about their simultaneous activities. So they will send information, especially when this is important, especially when we want to send a large amount of data. How can I handle this? To handle this, we use an extra CTS RTS mechanism. We use CSMA to avoid. No, in CSMA Naima, we cannot use, we cannot avoid the collisions. In CSMA CA, we have to, we can avoid. Look for CA part. So, my new problem is this. I'm defining a new problem. I want to send some information over the network, a large file over the network, and at the same time, someone else sends information toward me. How can I find this? Look at this. We are using CTS RTS strategy. For example, here A and B cannot hear each other, but they can hear access point, or they can send or receive information from access point, or sending information to the access point. So we said that, okay, if you have a large file, if you want to send a large file or a large message, firstly send an RTS to the access point or to the destination. Okay, firstly send an RTS message to the destination. Here we can see that A and B sending simultaneously, so their received signal in the access point is collided. After sending RTS, my system listen to the network to receive the CTS message. What does CTS message means? It means that, okay, your request is allowed. You can send your information, and you have access to the network, for example, for 6 milliseconds, something like that. Okay. In the first run, the RTS of A and B are collided. A and B should stay for random time and then try again. Here, the system A is started sooner than B, so it sends its information to the access point, and the access point confirmed the request. Request to send, clear to send. CTS, clear to send. After receiving this, I can send the data. With a guarantee. Why? Because in the CTS or carrier clear to send, the access point would announce to the whole systems in my network that system A wants to transfer, for example, 5 megabit information to me. Please be silenced. The rest of systems, please be silenced. I'm working with system A during this time. So system B, after will receive this CTS frame, and it have to postpone its information. And now the system A would send information to the access point with some guarantees. Where does the wireless works? You are talking in layer 1 and layer 2. Naina. CSA is a technology layer 2, and wireless is a communication technology in layer 1. Okay. After sending total information, then look at this. Then I can receive an acknowledge. Say that, okay, the sender, the receiver, or the access point sends this acknowledge. It means that, okay, everything is okay, and system A sends its information to me. Okay. Let me, please wait for a second. Let me 1 minute, please. Wait for 1 minute, please. I will be back very soon. Please wait.